We do have an informational hearing today, but, so we will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ed, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take the roll.
Patrick Halpin.
Present.
Julianne Nolan. Jerry O'Neill.
Present.
Ed Wynn.
Present.
Daniel Trucan.
Present.
Frank Santos. Greg Gaxiola. Matt Esposito. Nunzio Russo. And Rich King.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
We do. Okay. This isn't a typical planning board hearing. It is a informational hearing, which we've had for other cannabis companies that want to set up shop here in the town of Babel. But I'm going to read this in the record anyway, because I'd like you to follow the spirit of it. The planning board shall have the right to rely on any information that is presented by the applicant. If any such information is later found to be inaccurate or incorrect, the planning board may determine that any approvals, building permits, or other actions previously granted in connection with the application are null and void. Who's here on behalf of the applicant?
Gerard Glass, 72 East Main Street in Babylon for the applicant.
Okay. Mr. Glass, have you had the opportunity to review the memo from the Planning Commissioner Denise Graziano dated November 26 with your client?
I have, Mr.
Are
Chairman.
there any issues, anything you'd like to bring to our attention regarding any of the conditions or covenants or restrictions outlined in the?
There are two issues that I'd like to bring to your attention.
Okay.
One is, our position is no parking variances required in connection with this application. 17 spaces are required, 17 are shown. 2 are designated because they're in front of overhead doors as being reserved for employees. However, our intention is, we have this large warehouse. Our intention is to bring those cars inside. That is number one. Number two, the planning board is advised by the planning department of a recommendation for a cross-access agreement being required with the neighbor to the north. The neighbor to the north has a garage door which exits onto our property and presumably enters as well. They don't use it. We don't need that garage door to access our property. So if there were to be an agreement, it would them asking the landlord for the use of access out of our parking lot. No such agreement exists. I suspect that that garage door may have been added at some point without the benefit of planning department review, because it has no means to access ingress or egress through that door unless they come through our parking lot.
I'm shocked to hear that. But that said, why don't you begin your presentation, and perhaps as you're going through your presentation, you can point out that garage door and anything else, of course.
Absolutely. Let me begin by saying with me this evening are Anthony Quintel. He is one of the owners of the premises, Jeff Patanjo, who is working with us from Island Wide as our engineer, and also Steve Favada from SRF Architects, who will briefly speak tonight. Mr. Favada will speak to the architectural elements as well as the interior change to the facade of the building, and the site plan issues will be dealt with by Jeff Patanjo. This application, as you're aware, seeks a special exception from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and part of that process under your code requires us to have this informational hearing. This is a G-zone property. It is a 1-story industrial building that is going to be about 7,500 in the final analysis, which is located on a very industrial section of the town at 80 Lamar, and the use is proposed to be a cannabis dispensary. To the rear of the premises is the landfill. To the north is a cemetery. This is mid-block, this premises, and there are automotive uses that run the length of the block. There is a a use of a topsoil screening, what appears to be a topsoil screening plant that's on the block. It is heavy industrial. This will be, I think, a welcome improvement in terms of renovations to the building and the fact that the use is so much less intense than some of the other uses on the block. So the plan is to remove about 800 square feet of an existing warehouse. The building will be completely renovated. The interior will be renovated. There'll be a new facade, new parking lot, new exterior improvements, new landscape, a complete makeover of the site. Typically, as you've heard, I'm sure, from your other hearings, and it's been your experience with uses of this nature that have opened, there is no environmental impact. That's why there was no issue on the secret. Refuse with this use is going to be kept inside. The sewerage is a pending health department approval. We fully expect that because there's no intense aspect of that either. Typical utility services that regarding water, electric, gas, nothing unusual in any respect for any of that. No noise and odors are typically generated from this type of use. We don't expect this use to generate any noise and odors that would be offensive to anyone, including the neighbors. Exhibit A of this package that I submitted to you is a business plan. This is an informational hearing, so we wanted to tell you not just about the things that you typically hear about, like site plans, but we wanted to tell you what goes on with this use, who the players are, and I'll just give a brief synopsis of that now. These are experienced operators. The team that they have put together starts with local ties, and they've gone beyond the local area to bring in experts in this field. So they're coming into this with many, many years of experience in opening, operating, and running these types of facilities. So they've been tried, tested, and are not going to be surprised by any developments that may happen because they've experienced it. It's not their first store. In fact, there have been dozens and dozens of stores opened by this group. They collectively as a team are new, though. It's just they have had experience in with other ventures and bring that experience to the table as part of our team. There's 17 parking spots, as I mentioned earlier. This store proposes to use a kiosk method of dispensing the product, which makes the average customer time, according to the formulas that they've used, around 10 minutes. So customers in and out in 10 minutes. It's good for security purposes. It's a novel approach in the industry, but it seems like everything, including the airport, is going to these kiosks for service-based reasons. And here, there's a number of benefits that a kiosk adds to the use. So the hours right now, they're proposing the broadest hours. It's going to be limited, though, once they see what the needs are in this particular community. There is competition, and the competition is only going to increase as we go forward. So, but they're proposing 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., which will be adjusted downward once the customer trends develop, because they're certainly not going to want to have employees there if there aren't commensurate sales to justify that. Security is a big issue with these kind of uses. Here, this is going to be a fully alarmed facility. It's going to be sprinkled. All employees are corporate trained on site with the security aspect as well. There will be ID checks for any sales, of course, as a mandatory aspect of any sale. Things like loitering will not happen with this facility, will not be permitted or allowed, and they will have sufficient employees on site to make sure that is a non-issue. That hasn't been a big problem with the other uses, by the way, that they've had. The product, of course, with this kiosk use is kept even more safe and secure than some of the other applications
Can you
probably heard.
describe this kiosk? How's that actually going to work?
So what they have is it's actually shown on your in your exhibit package in the rendering floor plan in Exhibit F.
Yeah, okay, let's go to that.
So there they show where the kiosks are, and the service personnel are behind, and they simply pick up the product and then pay for it. But their order is placed, and it's filled behind the glass. We spoke about the cross-access agreement. There's really no issue with signage. Signage will be as shown, provided there's no comments from planning where they don't like any of that. They're, They did speak with the neighbor on that issue of the cross-access easement. I want to mention that. And the neighboring property tenant did not have any desire to even use that garage door, so they honestly could care less as to that point. The package otherwise provides for your site plan, photographs, survey, rendering, floor plans, architectural plans, and a certified copy of the deed, all of which, are part of the overall use. So I'd just like to briefly bring up Steve Favada to speak to the architectural elements of the plan, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Hello,
Sir,
everyone.
could you state your name and address for the record?
Steve Favada, 54 George Street, Babylon, New York.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
What we plan on doing is taking off about 800 square feet of building on the side there, renovating about 1,600 square feet for the retail area, and the rest of the building to be storage. We also plan on adding a new facade in the front and about 25 feet along the northerly side of the building, and then the rest of it painted. Removing the overhead door from the addition, we're removing and replacing it back on the side of the building. And just a couple of extra doors on the side there for the retail space. One would be entrance, and the other one would be a separate exit from the retail space.
Any questions for Mr. Favada,
Do
Mr.
any of the
Chairman?
board members have any questions regarding the renderings? No? I'm sorry. Julianne?
Is the building sprinklered?
It is sprinklered, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like next to bring up Jeff Patanjo, who is our engineer on the project.
Jeff Patanjo, Island-Wide Engineering and Land Surveying, 280 Main Street, Unit Suite Number 1 in Farmingdale, New York.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
So this project is simply renovation of an existing parking lot. We brought it up to new code compliance in conformance with all the departments with their reviews. New pavement, new parking stops, new drainage system upgrades to contain the proper amount of water. All new aprons, handicap ramps, sidewalks, bring it into ADA code compliance with new site lighting in conformance with the town requirements. And there's also going to be some landscaping and some street trees as requested. Otherwise, it's just the renovation of an existing parking area with all new, appurtenances that bring it into code conformance.
Do we have a rendering of that? I mean, is the rendering of the outside of the building that we saw?
Yes, it is
Does
in,
that reflect the?
it's part of that same exhibit that I mentioned earlier, I believe it was
Okay,
F.
Let's go back to that.
Yeah, that has the floor plan and renderings. Exhibit G is inclusive of an architectural plan.
Okay. What do we have then? Okay, that's the floor plan, that's the rendering.
Yeah, the site plans are in there, but we have larger ones we can,
There's only one set, but we could pass it off.
okay.
It's probably
We don't have a site
predominantly
plan?
one set.
There's a site plan in the package.
It's not a rendering that we had provided. There we go. Oh, this is a landscape plan that might help. So what we're passing around is just the overall site plan, and then there's one that has the landscaping on it. In engineer terms, it's not color and pretty like an architect.
Larger version of what's
Yeah.
in the package already.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
On the plan, it says that there's 2 parking spots. One's for overnight parking. What is anticipated to be parked overnight?
there will be no vehicles parked overnight. This plan has been morphed with Nunzio and the planning department through many renditions. And the final rendition is, we have plenty of room inside. We're gonna put them inside at night.
Out of curiosity, you're going to be keeping the vehicle that's like a delivery vehicle, and you're going to keep it in the space?
Yeah, it's got a big warehouse that's attached to it.
All right.
So those are delivery vehicles that you're referencing, okay.
Correct. And there's enough room in the warehouse to actually fit the employee vehicles as well. We're anticipating maybe 4 or 5 employees, and we would rather leave those spaces open for customers.
I would think so. Okay, any other questions?
So if you're leaving those spaces open for customers, how are the delivery trucks going to get in and out of the warehouse to go and deliver things?
So the delivery trucks, I'm saying at night, we're gonna put them inside. During the daytime, there's enough room to maneuver. There would have to be access, obviously, left for a delivery vehicle to come in and out. We plan on using small vans as well, and I think they're gonna be mostly transient. So they're literally gonna come in, pick up, and go back out.
Okay. And all the stocking of the vehicles that are delivering are going to be in the warehouse? Nothing's going to be done outside?
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
Just from a security standpoint.
Any other questions? Jerry?
Just curious, the interior floor plan seems to have a path. Is there a queuing process when customers come in and they sit at that long island and get served?
So I would anticipate there would be some, but my understanding is it is to be paired. Do you want to speak to that point? This is Anthony Quintal, he's the owner, so.
Good evening,
Sorry,
Board.
please state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Quintal, Islip, New York.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the
I
truth?
do.
Please proceed.
Sir, regarding the queue line and that bench that you see there, that bench is for perhaps maybe some elderly people and such, if they wanted to sit. There's little, the palm pads there that they can place their order all around the whole perimeter. If you follow that queue line, we also have the kiosks on the wall. So the folks will go, they'll place their order on those kiosks, and then they just follow that queue line around. Okay,
So
it's
they-
basically colored concrete.
I'm sorry, they view a product that's displayed and say, I want some of this?
It's basically it's all electronic.
Like
We
the
don't-
Automat?
Excuse me?
Like the Automat? The old, you're too young.
Thank you.
There's no product on display.
No, there's no product on display. It's all virtual.
Okay.
So they see a screen? They-
Yes, correct. And they place their orders, and then they follow that queue line around
And it's
to the
delivered
pickup,
at the
to the
end.
pickup kiosk, yeah.
Okay.
It's very safe, it's a very secure system. Our partners had originally started in California, and they used this type of system. It was very effective.
So you're old enough to remember the order? You don't want that tuna sandwich that's been sitting in there for about 6 hours. Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for taking the time to entertain this application.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board regarding this proposal? No? Okay, I'm sorry, Frank?
Security on the site? To explain security?
Yes, and not only do we have planned security, but every employee is going to be trained by corporate in security. So we have, everybody is going to have security-based training.
If I may,
Come on up to the
Thank you.
microphone. we can
So
get a little bit-
according to New York State, right, the marijuana program, there's certain guidelines and regulations all employees must abide by. All security firms licensed in New York State that are in this space also have to conform to certain rules and regulations. All the staff will be trained. Everybody, actually, they will have it's a certification that background checks by the state before they can even work for us. Everything's monitored very closely. I'm sure you folks have, with all this security systems and so, very high tech. Everything is barcoded from seed to sale. So all that product is collectively monitored so that the state gets their tax money and everybody else gets their tax money from it. And it's safer that way, right? We don't have all this rogue stuff going around killing our youth and so forth with all these other additives that they're adding to this. I'm in the business. I don't partake. I'm not like Bill Clinton. I didn't inhale. I just don't partake. But nevertheless, it's a choice. It's a choice that people have now. And to do it safely and do it legally, it's very good, especially with the way things are today, with these different additives being put in these different drugs and marijuana.
Fentanyl is a killer. It doesn't take much.
Yeah. I've lost.
I have a question regarding, I appreciate the rigor upon which all of the employees are being vetted and trained and so forth. But the reality is that there's still a large underground market out there. New York City, of course, is probably a prime example of the underground market, not only encroaching on the legal marketplace, but really making it difficult to be profitable.
Correct.
So tell me about your thoughts about that.
So I originally started in this industry up in Utica, New York.
Okay.
I've got a 1.5 million square foot greenhouse. I was involved with the initial medical program with New York.
Yeah.
We weren't awarded a license when we ran for a license. We were the only company that had a facility to grow. We weren't chosen. We came in 14 out of 46. One of the original 14 was floundering in New York City. My partners and I, we collectively bought them out of bankruptcy and moved them up to our facility in Utica. I'm a Long Island guy. I have farms, nurseries, and I saw the opportunity and we got into it. And it helps a lot of people. It really does. But as far as the black market goes, the rogue market, whatever they want to call it, finally, the police effort has stepped up. Finally, the governor has stepped up that because they realize they're licensing these people. Folks like us are spending a lot of money to get in on this,
So this is
market.
just this building alone, the capital investment
We're sitting on it a year.
is very significant.
We're hemorrhaging right now.
Right.
We need to get this place open. And my partner and I are doing this all together. We've assembled an awesome team, all Babylon folks, the best of the best in the town. And I work with them on other projects, so hence why I brought them in on this. But I also have my partners from out west that we brought in collectively because they're unbelievable. We took our company, we took it to $1 billion company, and we went public with it. Unfortunately, the operators that took it over ran it in, you know how these big corporations work, they tanked it, which is a shame. But I feel that there's going to be a better opportunity for us operators, even though there's more and more opening. I feel that there's still opportunity, and it's also going to be able to help root out some of these illegal nonsense with enforcement and so forth. I think everybody sees it. I mean, New York City, he's finally cracking down, and they're on it, and because it was on every street. There's people advertising out here. It's illegal in Islip. It's not legal in Islip, and they're advertising marijuana sales. So it's happening. I know the town of Islip themselves are involved heavily in that. And look, Babylon has opened their doors to this, and they're really a pioneer in this. And they see the benefit, and they also, I think the folks here understand that, hey, you know what? We are doing a good thing because now there's that much illegal. Another legal place opens, it pushes out those illegal. Because quite frankly, I have an aunt that's very ill, and she goes, and my Uncle Bill, he goes over into these places, and he gets the gummies and whatnot, and it makes Aunt Jane feel better. And at the end of the day, if she can have a better quality of life from it, hey, God bless her. But again, if there's anything else I could answer for you folks.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Well, I have one last question. Look, as you know, there are a lot of people who use cannabis one way or the other. Is the public as well educated, or are they as concerned as they should be about the underground or the illegal cannabis that's being sold without fully understanding what it means to have cannabis being sold literally from seed to sale? Every part of it is carefully monitored.
So my feeling.
How do you drive that home?
Educating folks, advertisements. I mean, now you can advertise, right? So now you could push that message to the public. Hey, we have a product that's safe. It's this, it's that, and the next thing.
When you say it's a certain potency, that's what it is.
Right. There's not some additive put in there that's a substance that'll kill you. Right. So, and that's what they're doing. Unfortunately, they're doing it, and I mean, look, I'm sure everyone in this room's been afflicted or affected by a family member or a friend or a friend's son or daughter dying of an overdose because they took something that wasn't what they thought it was. And hopefully the state and the counties and whatnot will keep cracking down on it, and this business will be able to, kind of like Prohibition, right? But Prohibition was a lot different because people weren't dying of it. This year, this black market, you get something that's bad, it could kill you. And I've had it happen in one of our family members that was working with us. It was terrible. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope that the board looks favorably upon our application.
Look, we wish you the best.
Thank you.
This is going to be a big improvement for that part of the street and that part of our town.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you to Nunzio as well, because because we're hemorrhaging, we've been calling him a lot.
And I want to apologize, I'm a little bit late. My name is Fred Polsinelli, and I work with the operations team.
Okay, hold on, Fred.
Yes,
State
sir.
your name and address for the record. The record is
sir.
still open.
Sure, I want to apologize. My name is Fred Polsinelli, and I'm at 108 Lamar with the Joyful Shores team. I've been working with Nunzio for quite some time, and I caught the tail end of the illicit operators, and naturally more legal stores will help to drive out the illicit market. And the state is doing a good job with enforcement, and they're putting more resources behind it. They're going to do more, but I think if we can open legal stores with all lab-tested, highly compliant businesses, I think we could do something really good for that neighborhood. We really thank you, and it's been really great to work with the board.
What's
and
been your
the team.
experience working with Nunzio and the other?
And it's been great, actually. I've actually worked in New York's medical industry since the
Okay.
beginning, and so we've opened up many of the medical stores and
Yes.
facilities, and the communities all over the state are apprehensive. People don't quite understand what it is, and you read what you read publicly, and whether it's upstate, rural upstate, or Long Island, it's all about coming into a community and just being transparent, talking about the product and where it comes from, and the difference between a state-run program and illicit operators, and what is compliance, and what are the lab requirements, and really getting down into that level of detail with people. It becomes a discussion about medical pretty quick. Whether it's medical part of the program or adult use, it's all the same plant. It all comes from the same growers in New York State. And so most people find it therapeutic for one reason or another, and that's what we like to bring it back to. So we're not, we have immaculate record of compliance and, within tough regulatory environments. But personally, it's been an absolute joy to work with Nunzio, and there's been a lot of back and forth, and the whole team, we just want to be responsive, and we want to address any issues. And we think for this particular part of Lamar Street, you know, I think we could actually do a nice job as far as like the beautification of the surrounding area goes, where, you know, I think it could use a little help, and I think we can bring that.
No, we appreciate the fact that you, your partners, everybody are making such a big investment into this, and this is not something that is just fly-by-night, or as was alluded to, where you have some bunch of investors in Wall Street trying to buy you out. All they want to do is to drive down costs so they can pay themselves. So this is important. And we want to see you do well and get off the ground. The
Thank you, sir.
reality is that people for years have always had access. The question now is, are you all who have taken the product to a level that you can literally guarantee, you know, what it is, going to be successll. So we wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our